The town and creek of Los Gatos were named for the cougars and bobcats that roam in the mountains above. The first settlers, a Spanish family arriving in 1839, were scouting for a homestead in the area when they heard the screams of mountain lions. While they were terrified, they realized this meant that water couldn't be far away. They discovered the creek and built a home in what is now Vasona Lake County Park. The 11-mile Los Gatos Creek Trail runs from downtown San Jose to Lexington Dam. On our 2-mile walk through Vasona Lake County Park, we are taking part of the trail that runs to the east of Los Gatos Creek, in addition to some trails on the west side of the creek. In just those 2 miles, we hear a chorus of bird songs, visit a native plant garden, enjoy the sounds of the creek's water rushing past us, and appreciate views from the end of the reservoir. The creek and reservoir attract many different types of waterfowl and migrating birds. Beavers, wild pigs, bobcats, and mountain lions depend on the creek for survival. You likely won't see beavers when you visit, since they are nocturnal. Did you know that beavers are the second largest rodents in the world, second only to the capybara of South America? An average adult weighs 60 pounds, but they're not too big to be hunted by coyotes, foxes, bobcats, and mountain lions. Beavers' tails are very important for their survival for 3 reasons. When a beaver senses danger, it will dive into the water and slap its scale-covered tail hard and loudly on the water. The sound is loud enough to be heard on both land and in the water from very far away. When other beavers hear this alarm sound, they will usually stay under the water for a while to wait until the predator passes by. Not only does their tail act to warn of danger, but it also makes an efficient rudder as they swim in the water for food and building materials. Last but not least, their tail has scent glands that secrete castoreum, a musky odor used to mark their territory. 2 federally threatened species that live in Los Gatos Creek are steelhead trout and California coastal Chinook salmon. Chinook salmon are native to the Guadalupe watershed here in Santa Clara County. Similar to steelhead trout, Chinook salmon are anadromous fish, which means they can live in both fresh and salt water. When in the ocean, Chinook salmon are a silvery blue with black spots on their silver tail and upper half of their body. They change from a silver to brown color when they live in the fresh water. The average size of an adult fish is 40 pounds and 28 inches long, but may reach up to 130 pounds and 58 inches long. Also similar to steelhead trout, Chinook salmon migrate upstream as adults to spawn in freshwater streams, and migrate downstream as juveniles to grow and mature in the ocean. Chinook salmon have been considered threatened since 1999. The main reasons for the decrease in their population are introduction of dams that prevent their migration to the ocean, and pollution of the freshwater habitat where their eggs develop. For thousands of years, Chinook salmon have been part of the spiritual and cultural identity of the native peoples of the Pacific Northwest. They still use salmon for their religious services and may celebrate the first spring Chinook caught each year with the first salmon ceremonies. They are a primary food source and are an important part of the economies of this region. During fall migration, Vasona Lake County Park is a great place to hear warblers and other songbirds such as brown creeper, orange-crowned warbler, yellow warbler, yellow-rumped warbler, and Wilson's warbler singing in the trees and bushes. Along the creek, we hear the song of a yellow-rumped warbler and spot it fluttering around on the fragile branches of a tall bay laurel tree, picking at the leaves for insects. These birds eat berries, seeds, and insects. Of all the warblers, only the yellow-rumped warbler is able to digest the waxy fruits of bayberries and wax myrtles, so they have no competition for this food source. In summer, both sexes are a smart gray with flashes of white in the wings and yellow on the face, sides, and rump. Males are very strikingly shaded. Females are duller and may show some brown. Winter birds are paler brown with a bright yellow rump and usually some yellow on the sides. As we walk further down the paved trail, we see sweet gum trees. After the tree grows for about 15 to 20 years, it begins to flower. The flowers eventually turn into prickly round balls full of seeds, which are called sweet gum balls. They are a magnet for goldfinches who love to eat their seeds. These active and acrobatic little 4 to 5 inch long finches sit on the balls and swing back and forth as they stick their beaks into the seed pod to pull the tasty seeds. Goldfinches have a short conical bill and a small head, long wings, and short notched tail. During mating season, adult males are bright yellow with a black forehead, black wings with white markings, and white patches both above and beneath the tail. Adult females are duller yellow beneath and olive above. In the winter, their colors become dull brown and pale yellow. On the lawn and fences of this park, you can find black phoebes, western bluebirds, and killdeer. We see a black phoebe perched on a rust-colored fence post, scanning for insects while it chirps. It has a sooty black body and bright white belly. We pass an open area and find a killdeer, which is a graceful plover common to lawns, golf courses, athletic fields, and parking lots. Killdeer get their name from their shrill, wailing killdeer call. They have been given nicknames such as chattering plover and noisy plover. They like to run across the ground, stopping frequently to look around for insects to eat and watch for predators. They make their nests on the ground in places that are easy to mistakenly walk on, so if a predator or human gets close, the parent bird hobbles away from the nest, making a shrill sound. They lay on the ground, feigning a broken wing to lure the predator away. When the predator comes near, they quickly move further from the nest and repeat this pattern of behavior over and over until the predator is far enough away. Then the adult bird flies away, leaving the predator stunned and confused. We cross a bridge that covers Vasona Lake and scan the water for pied-billed grebes, American coots, and double-crested cormorants. We see an American coot standing in the water by the shore, preening itself. It is a deep black with a short white beak and black tip. This bird eats aquatic plants such as algae, duckweed, eelgrass, wild rice, sedges, hydrilla, wild celery, water lilies, cattails, and water milfoil. You may also see them eating insects, crustaceans, snails, and small vertebrae such as tadpoles and salamanders. In the winter, these birds can be found in massive flocks of hundreds or even thousands of coots and other waterfowl. Here we find about 25 of them on the land by a bench, picking at the ground for insects. After about a quarter mile of walking, we hear a noisy bird and see a hyperactive little bird called Bewick's wren on the ground foraging for insects. Only the male Bewick's wren sings to defend territory and attract mates. Songs vary from one geographical area to another, and a single male may have 9 to 22 distinct songs. Typically, their songs begin with 2 or more high quick notes, drop into a lower phrase, and end on a high trill. The path follows the lake on the left side, where there are small bushes and shrubs, and on the right side of the trail are trees where birds are running across the branches and jumping from the top level to the bottom. We approach a firecracker island bush snapdragon that has bright red flowers and lime green foliage and is about 3 feet tall and 5 feet wide. Sitting on one of its delicate branches is a singing hermit thrush. It has a small round head, straight bill, and long reddish tail with a rich brown-colored head and back. Its throat and breast have distinctive brown spots on soft white underparts. They belong to the same family as the bluebird. Speaking of bluebirds, we see a male western bluebird perched at the top of a tall tree preening itself. These birds nest in tree cavities and use tall trees as hunting perches. It has a striking deep blue head and wings that complement its rust-colored orange breast and upper back. We reach the north end of the lake and see different shades of red, green, and yellow foliage on the east and west side of the shore, and the lush green Santa Cruz Mountains in the background. I stand on the dam, which was one of 6 original dams and reservoirs approved by voters in 1934 and completed 1 year later. The reservoir capacity is 495 acre-feet with a surface area of 57 acres. It is an earthen dam that is 34 feet high and 1,000 feet long. On the way back, we decide to take a detour on the Viola Anderson Native Plant Trail. Viola Anderson taught children about the natural environment, published many articles about plants, and wrote a book titled Flowers and Their Ancestors. The trail was dedicated to her for her commitment to science education and is maintained through her generous endowment to the Youth Science Institute. The trail can be found on the east side of the lake among the shady trees near the Youth Science Institute. Each of the 39 plants are marked with its name and was chosen for their historical value to Native Americans and wildlife. Birds are singing in the trees and bushes along the Viola Anderson Native Plant Trail, where they stop to eat berries. First we find a blue elderberry tree. It has cream or yellow flowers in the spring and purple berries in the fall. Native peoples used elderberry for many different purposes. They externally applied the tree's bark and leaves to treat bruises, swelling, and as an antiseptic. The flowers were made into a tea to treat cold and flu symptoms. Natives ate the berries from this tree and used them to make black or purple dye. This tree is also critical for other wildlife. Its berries are also one of the most important food sources for birds in California. Squirrels and other small mammals also eat the fruit. Flowers are mostly pollinated by insects and hummingbirds, and they'll visit the flowers for nectar. Elk and deer eat the foliage. Next we spot whorls of bright purple, fuzzy flowers on a plant with leaves that look like long mint leaves. The leaves are velvety soft to touch. This is Mexican sage from the genus Salvia, a shrub whose flowers are loved by hummingbirds. Perched on a thin branch of a Douglas fir tree, we see a female Anna's hummingbird preening and sticking out its long, thin tongue. It is easy to identify because of its metallic green wings and thin, long beak. We can see its heart beating very quickly. Females are the ones that care for their young. They build their nest while sitting in the nest, building up the rim around her. Nests take about a week to build and are 1 inch tall by 1.5 inches in diameter. They can be built of plant down, cattail, willow, leaves, thistle, or small feathers, and bound together by spider webs and insect cocoons. They may decorate the outside with lichen, moss, and even paint chips. These birds perform extravagant courtship behavior. A male flies as high as 130 feet in the air and then plummets towards the female, where he makes a unique high-pitched noise made by air whipping through his tail feathers. As the courtship progresses, the male chases the female, who leads him towards her nest. The male then performs a shuttle display, where he swings back and forth about a foot above the female, keeping his body horizontal and his head down toward the female, often singing an intense song. The next native plant we find on the trail is the California coffeeberry, a 6-foot-tall shrub with a dark stem and 2 to 4 inch long dark green leaves that are smooth and leathery. The bush is adorned with bright red and dark red berries. Local Native Americans use these sweet berries for culinary and medicinal purposes, and they are food for many birds and small mammals. The berries superficially resemble the commercial coffee bean. Unfortunately, attempts at using coffeeberry as a coffee substitute have not been successful. They are the host plant for at least 10 different butterflies and moths. The next signage we see is for the Hillside Gooseberry, a 5-foot-tall shrub from the currant species that is endemic to California and flowers in the spring and winter. Looking closely, we can see 3 long, sharp thorns at 2-inch intervals on its woody stem. Its leaves are deep green and lobed. The fruit is an edible red berry about a centimeter wide, which is covered in stiff spines, and its flowers hang upside down. It provides valuable food for wildlife that can eat the fruit without being hurt by the spines. Gooseberry is the host plant for the tailed copper butterfly caterpillar. Eggs are laid singly in the bush and hibernate until the following spring. Caterpillars eat the gooseberry leaves. An interesting characteristic of this butterfly is that each hindwing has a protruding tail. Male butterflies' upper wings are copper brown with iridescent purple sheen, and females have an orange and dark brown pattern. We pass a wavy-leaf soap plant that is easily recognized by its light green, wavy-edged 1 to 2 foot long leaves. Its flower has 6 white petals, each with a green midvein and yellow tipped stamens. The flower opens at night, and by morning they will wilt and liquefy. This plant has a number of uses. It has an easily recognizable brown fibrous bulb with a white heart that when crushed yields soap. The soap was used by Native Americans, and the bulb was cooked and eaten. The brown fiber surrounding the bulb was used to make brushes. Next we see a plant with a scarlet red trumpet-looking flower that is called California fuchsia or hummingbird trumpet. It is dependent on hummingbirds for pollination, and it provides one of their principal nectar resources during the summer months. The plants self-seed and also spread by rhizomes. It prefers to grow in extreme heat and dry weather, so it is a good choice for a drought-resistant garden. There is a flowering California Buckeye along the native plant trail. It is from the horse chestnut genus and is a drought-tolerant species endemic to California. It is the only Buckeye native to the state. This large shrub or small multi-trunked tree grows up to 20 feet tall with a 30-foot spread. Its silvery bark is often coated with lichens or mosses, and leaves are dark green with finely serrated edges. Buckeye flowers are 4 to 8 inch long clusters of creamy white blossoms with extended orange stamens. In the spring, the flowers are plentiful and have a superb sweet fragrance. The flowers support hummingbirds, many types of butterflies, and native bees, but they are toxic to honeybees. Pollinated flowers develop into large, 2-inch diameter, round, leathery seeds. The seeds are poisonous to both humans and animals. Squirrels and chipmunks are the only animals that can safely consume raw seeds. Costanoan and some Pomo people used the toxic seeds sprinkled in rivers to stun fish for easy capture. The seeds can be leached of the toxic tannins and then ground, roasted, or boiled for eating. On the right side of the trail, we see a large shrub with bright red berries. The Chumash, a Native American tribe from Southern California, named this plant toyon, and this continues to be its common name today. Toyon is used in a variety of ways by the Chumash. Toyon was once called Christmasberry or hollyberry due to its holly-like leaves and the beautiful red berries which are plentiful during the holiday season. It is believed that Hollywood was named after toyon because the species once thrived where the city now stands. We have seen cream-colored flowers and many red flowers and berries. This bright blue native shrub is 2 to 3 foot tall and is called Bluewitch Nightshade. A loose cluster of blue-purple flowers with 5 fused petals and a thick yellow-orange anther sit at the top of each stem. Birds eat its dark purple pea-sized berries that are hallucinogenic and toxic to humans. In fact, all part of this plant should not be ingested by humans. At the end of the native plant trail, we see a medium-sized sparrow with a round head and long rounded tail, hopping through the ground cover, looking for insects, seeds, and berries. It has rust-colored streaks on its white neck, breast, and belly, and rust stripes running down the top of its head across its face. This is a song sparrow, and they like to make their nests hidden in grasses or weeds. There is a bird that is hopping from branch to branch and from shrub to shrub that is not keeping still. If not for the bright white streak across its black face and rust or chestnut-colored patch above its wings, it would blend in perfectly with the foliage. These chestnut-backed chickadees are tiny, but have big heads and prefer to eat insects than seeds and berries. Right in front of us on the trail, we see a gray-cheeked thrush eating a 3-inch worm for late breakfast. This brown bird is shy and hard to see because it blends in well with its environment, especially when it is feeding on the ground. This thrush travels a long way to breed, with some making a non-stop flight from the northeastern United States to the northern part of South America. At the top of a tall tree sits a bird with a striking bright yellow throat and black head with black and white wings and bright white breast and belly. These migratory birds breed in southeastern North America and typically spend the winter in Mexico and Florida, but this one seems to have decided to move further west and north. They like to creep up branches near the top of the tree canopy like this one here, and probe into crevices and pine cones for insects. About 100 feet from the red bridge that crosses the lake, we see a white-crowned sparrow perched on a thin branch of a long-leaved bush. The distinctive features of this sparrow are the bold black and white stripes on its head and yellow bill. Females take anywhere from 2 to 9 days to build their nests out of twigs, coarse grasses, pine needles, moss, bark, and dead leaves. They line the bottom of the nest with fine grasses and hairs. On the lake shore, we see a graceful, snowy egret wading in the water with a pair of mallard ducks by the bridge. It doesn't seem to be bothered by us being nearby. Interestingly, during breeding season, adult snowy egrets' feet change color from greenish yellow to a rich orange yellow, and their face changes from yellow to red. Also during breeding season, their head, neck, and back grow long, lacy plumes. At the end of the 19th century, these elegant plumes were used to decorate women's hats. In 1886, they were in such high demand that plumes were valued at $32 per ounce, which was twice the price of gold at the time. They were hunted nearly to extinction before laws were passed to protect them. We head back on trails along Los Gatos Creek, enjoying the restful sound of the rippling water.